Hey kids, Cousin Rich here. Welcome to Castles and Capes and Clones Live. Unfortunately, even though Loren was supposed to join me tonight, he is having some health issues and he is back in the hospital. If you follow him, you might know that he was in the hospital last week for some complications. He is back in the hospital. Seems to be okay-ish. I mean, he's uh, let me know that he wouldn't be able to make it. So please send any thoughts, prayers, well wishes, positive energy his way, and that hopefully he goes through a speedy recovery. But I do have a co-host today that you all know, and that is friend Thom.
It's been a while. Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm okay. Been busy with RL stuff, as it were. Also wishing LJ the very best and for a speedy recovery. Hope he's doing okay. I know he's. I mean, spoke to him earlier, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, trying to think. What's the last time we haven't done this for a while because
Yeah.
again, Lauren was in hospital last week. I think the week before that I was sick. We were all sick, I think. So it's been a good minute since we've talked about anything.
Yeah.
Um, a lot has happened in the world of Disney. Um, so let's get to it, shall we? Um, I'm doing this all by like the technological tech stuff by myself. So
Yeah.
bear with me on this. Let's start with Disney news. It's a slow Disney news cycle. Not a lot going on, except for
Yeah.
this whole Reedy Creek thing and
It's
Iger
weird.
versus
Like,
DeSantis.
yeah. I mean, it's weird. Like, it is essentially a slow Disney news, but this is a pretty like at the same time. This is also significant. So
Yeah,
yeah,
um,
an interesting turn of events.
yeah. Just to recap, right? So Disney in Florida has had kind of like a carte blanche operation since early days of Walt Disney
Mhm.
World because Walt Disney did not want Walt Disney World to end up like Anaheim and Disneyland.
Yeah,
In that, it doesn't mean like it's bad, but like around Disneyland, it's like all these like cheap hotels,
quote unquote.
businesses, stuff like this. Yeah, it's not as cheap, but
Yeah,
like you can't tell. Like, there's no magic going into Disneyland, really, right? It's in
yeah,
the middle of a tourist trap, basically. Whereas when you
yeah.
go to Walt Disney World, like you're in Walt Disney World because like
It's pretty much a city.
it is, but you don't have like those touristy spots. You don't have like
No, you're in your own world there.
those stores that sell cheap, you know, souvenirs and whatever. At least not until you get outside of the boundaries. And
Yeah,
that's kind of what they wanted to maintain is that the area of Walt Disney World looked magical and very Disney. Um, and then basically Florida's governor wanted to pass some legislation that has been called the "Don't Say Gay" bill, and then Disney fans and employees especially wanted some kind of response from Disney. And at the time, Bob Chapek was in charge of things, and at first he didn't say much, and then finally he came out and said, we support the LGBTQIA community, and um, I guess some of it might have been handled differently, but then he subworded it like, and we will do everything to repeal this legislation, which maybe you could have worded that a little differently. It didn't sound combative, but still,
mhm,
it's a corporation supporting, like, it's going to support a bunch of its employees and its fans. So
yeah,
DeSantis didn't like that because snowflake. So he disguise the retaliation by saying like all these special districts will be dissolved. That was the original intent. He wanted to
mhm,
dissolve, which included the Reedy Creek um, I can't remember what it's called. Reedy Creek Improvement District, something like
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
that. But his first attempt to do that came with a very big cost because there's like a $1 billion loan that Disney has been paying, but if they dissolve the district, that debt goes to the taxpayers. And so he didn't do that. But what he did was form legislation to take over the board, and set some things that said like no board member, oh, all board members would be appointed by the governor, and no board members can be like part of the Disney corporation or theme park corporation or
Hmm.
theme parks or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and at the time, Disney was kind of like, all right, which is weird because we're like, that seems very much like a state overreaching into corporate
Yeah.
affairs.
Yeah. Pretty much.
But Disney was just like, cool. And, like, because it wasn't dissolved, there were still some things that Disney was still in control of and whatnot. But, like, I thought there would be a little bit more of a back and forth.
Hmm.
But apparently there wasn't because they knew exactly what they were going to do. Because literally the day before Ron DeSantis went to a firehouse and signed that legislation, the old board met and basically like I won't get through the whole minutia of it, but pretty much
Yeah.
depowered the board, the future board.
Yeah.
Um, and the best part of that is because they can't just do something in perpetuity. The clause is the declaration is valid until 21 years
Hmm.
after the death of the last living descendant of King Charles III that is alive of as of the date of the signing, which means any grandchild that he has, basically once that grandchild, like the longest living of those grandchildren that are alive today,
Yeah.
dies 21 years after that, then this goes invalid.
That's such a oddly specific, wonderful like
Yes.
thing to have, and it's just pretty much like, yeah, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, it's crazy. I like read that. I'm like, that's the most ridiculous but most awesome thing.
It sounds completely made up.
I forget what it, like. I looked it up, and it's something that they actually it's based off something. I forget what it's called,
Yeah.
but this essentially renders the new board obsolete, or not
Yeah.
obsolete, but powerless. But
Yeah.
all they have is control over basic infrastructure and the roads, and that's it. You know, DeSantis and the Republicans who supported this were like, "This is a win. We get to control Disney." It's like, I mean, that wasn't even it.
No.
Basically, like, they can just tell Disney not to build something or whatever. But this is not, of course, it's not the end of it, right?
Yeah.
DeSantis is going to fight back. He's got lawyers. I think the funny thing is that when they signed this into effect, the board, the old board, it was in an open forum. It was announced that we're going to have this meeting. So it wasn't like they did it behind their backs. Like
Mhm.
they could have showed up,
Yeah.
but the hubris of that party didn't. They thought they won. They're like, "Hey, we got the control, whatever." Like, have their little meeting. Talking to Disney. Disney's been in legal battles before.
Yeah, this isn't yeah, this isn't their first rodeo.
Yeah.
Absolutely
So,
not.
of course they had something cooked up. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So
like
now,
they're like they seemed they made it appear like they weren't going to do anything when they clearly already had something planned behind the curtain, as it were, to begin with.
right?
And I think that's great because, again, having never been there but have done an embarrassing amount of research
In
about the
Disney World.
place. I mean, that was essentially, that's always been my, I mean, whenever I've talked about in the past with people that I've known about my idea of, one day going to Disney World and just kind of immersing myself in it for at least a week, everyone said just to stay at one of the cheap hotels outside of the parks. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, I feel like the whole point, and also, no offense to Florida in and of itself, but I don't care about Florida in any way, shape, or form at all, with the exception of Disney World. That's it. So, and considering that I know how well run Disney World is, getting all this information from you, from LJ, from other people that I've known that have been there. If you're staying on, even at the budget hotels there, they're still pretty nice, and they've even been renovated recently. Like, I just like the idea of just being completely immersed
Right.
in Disney World, and the fact that they still pretty much can do that, that they're just running their own city again with these weird random little, like, oh, you can't build a road here. Like, all right, well, we'll find some other way to do it then. So,
Yeah. I mean, like, I like Florida. I mean, the only thing I don't like about Florida is gators and it's humid all the time
yeah.
and it rains constantly. But whatever. Um, you know, I just have a problem with the current government,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And some of their, you know, hate
A
legislation,
lot.
basically.
A lot of it. Yeah.
And their whole, like, every time he opens his mouth and says woke, I'm just like, ugh. All that
It,
woke means is something I don't like. All woke means to Ron
I don't
DeSantis
like it.
is
I don't
I
like
don't
it.
like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the most whiny. It's basically they just turned whining into a word. They're like woke. So whatever. But like the thing about like this now is going to be, even if, so basically DeSantis is obviously going to fight this, right? He's
Yeah.
hired a bunch of lawyers, and I think it's hilarious that it took them 2 months to find this out. This was in the books for 2 months
Yeah.
before someone realized this was a thing.
Oh, wait.
The new board was like, "Wait, what?" Um,
I'm not
so
surprised they didn't read it.
yeah,
It
so
took them
I'm
this
like,
long to find it.
that's on that group, man. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it just goes to show though, like how good were they going to be as a board, right?
Yeah.
To let this go and not be unnoticed for 2 months,
And they didn't read the fine print. And
basically.
to be fair, it probably wasn't even fine print. It's
Yeah,
probably right there.
it just kind of shows that this is definitely a power play, man.
Yeah.
So, um, but I think they'll win. I think it's good for Disney no matter what happens, because
Yeah.
then it gets this bogged down in litigation.
Hmm.
So worst comes to worst, it just gets bogged down and they ride out the current administration,
Yeah.
right? Um, because I think if DeSantis does run, he's in for a world of hurt, because
Hmm.
the rest of the country won't stand for his shenanigans.
Yeah.
So in basically, then it does that, or you know, um, the other thing they can do is maybe dissolve the board, but then again, that brings that to like the $1 billion tax loan
Of course.
onto the taxpayers, and they're not going to like that, because who's going to like
No.
that? Um, or they do some kind of negotiation and still will favor Disney at that point. Um, but yeah, good times with this whole thing. Um, and then so Disney also had their shareholders meeting or
Mhm.
investment call this week, and when asked, Iger quote said, "Any action that thwarts those efforts simply to retaliate for a position the company took sounds not just anti-business, but it sounds anti-Florida."
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, because it is anti-business, anti-Florida, but it's also anti-First Amendment,
Yeah.
right? Basically, they are punishing a company, a government, and the First Amendment. Let's be clear: it's so the government doesn't punish you for things you say,
Yeah.
right? And this is government punishing a company for what they said. So,
Yeah.
um, but on the good side of that is also during that call, like Iger pretty much said they have like they have a plan to invest $17 billion. 17 billion? Yeah, I think it was that. It was, um, in Disney World for the next 10 years. There was no, any kind of details on that, but part of what happened with the old board is that then they also pre-approved a whole bunch of possible projects. So that
Yeah.
includes 14,000 new hotel rooms, which is quite a lot. 150K square feet of offices, so that's jobs and whatnot. But then they can also build one new major theme park and or two minor theme parks. So um
That's nice.
yeah, right. So I don't know if that, so this is like, I know during D23 they kind of discussed some blue sky stuff, like adding like a villain's land or expanding some parts of the animal kingdom into um Encanto or Lion King or something. There's a whole bunch of plans that they had set.
Hmm.
Um, that wouldn't be part of this, right? Like even before the board thing, like that they were still able to build where they want, kind of.
Yeah.
So this is talking like a whole new, like a fourth park if they wanted to, or two mini things like Blizzard Beach or Typhoon Lagoon or something.
Yeah.
Um, so do they have plans for that? Who knows? But
They
$17 is a big chunk of change.
they should make an Aristocats land.
just
That's it. That's
a
the
bunch of
only thing.
just a bunch of
Yeah,
cats
just
playing
bunch of
jazz,
cats. Just bunch of yeah. That's it.
like a
Just
speakeasy.
Aristocats. Yeah, that's it. No other no other IPs in there. Just Aristocats.
Nice. Which is a news item later.
Yes,
But
it is.
but but yeah, that is what's going on in Walt Disney World. And I'll have to admit, when I saw the news, like I was like, right on, Disney.
Yeah,
Sounds ridiculous, but at the same time, sure,
yeah.
whatever.
That was pretty much when I saw that news popping up on all the stuff that I follow. I was like, oh, cool. Like,
Right.
good. That works. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Some other good news. There was an agreement between the cast member union and Disney so that cast members will have a pay increase.
Good.
Um, don't know the details exactly because I get lost in that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
they should be making a living wage. I don't know what that means exactly. Hopefully that does work out for everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
the union did approve, so it hopefully it's good for all cast members
Hmm.
because let's be honest, cast members is what make Disney
Yes. Yeah.
sets
And
it apart
it's
from other places.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and with this was, I mean, so far it was just for Disney World, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay. I mean, as long as they can pull off doing the same thing over here and everywhere
yeah,
else too, because yeah, what I mean, I, I feel like it's obvious when your employees, or in this case, cast members, are happy. That makes them happy, and that in turns makes us happy too.
yeah.
So
Like I don't
yeah,
know how it is in Walt Disney World, but like you can, like, having been in Disneyland for a while, you can kind of tell when like something shifted once Iger came back.
yes,
There was a definite shift in kind of like just general feeling overall.
just morale. Yeah,
Yeah, and you can see it. Like you can see when cast members get a little bit burnt out or just worn down, and then you can also tell when you can feel them a little bit more energized. And I hope whatever agreement happens in Walt Disney World, it kind of moves to open up negotiations here in California for California's cast members as well.
yeah. Because
California ain't cheap.
no, it's not, and it's not getting any cheaper.
It is not. Why do we live here? Oh yeah,
Because Disneyland's here,
right, right, right. Mm,
and we are less than a 2 hour drive to both the mountains and the beach and the forest and the desert.
yeah,
That's why.
that is true.
And the
Like
weather's
I could
nice
look
for the
one
most
way
part.
and it's like snowy mountaintops, and then I could look the other way, it's like the beach,
Yeah.
and we pay for it.
Yeah, we know it's not cheap here.
Yeah, it's
Like
not.
it's funny that people be like, it's expensive. Like, yeah, we know we're choosing to live here, where it
Right.
isn't really, it's not like we don't have any control over where we want to live.
Right. Some live action movie news from Disney. One of which I was like, sweet, and that is the Aristocats are being brought to, I guess, live action, which
Mhm.
I'm guessing is going to be similar to like Lion King, because I don't
It'll
think
probably just be like all CG, but made to look as real as possible.
right. But directed by Questlove, which if there's going to somebody who's going to direct the Aristocats,
Yeah,
it's
I feel like
Questlove.
he's a good choice because I saw I did see that news, but when I first saw it, it didn't say who was
Oh,
working
really?
on it. I was like,
That's what
who's?
I think
I was
he
like, uh oh.
posted. So that's where I saw
Yeah,
it.
but then I
Um,
saw I saw his post and I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm all right. I'll be fine. I'm
yeah.
not
And
worried
for those who
anymore.
don't know, Questlove is the uh, band leader. I don't know,
Yeah.
drummer of the Roots, who is the house band for the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon.
Mhm.
But even before that, it was the Roots, right? So,
Yeah.
and he's directed a documentary. I think it's called The Summer of Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's
Um,
he's he's great.
so yeah, and he's like, I was interviews, everything with him. I'm a big fan. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he does, and I'm excited to see like what part of the music of Aristocats he's going to be playing a part of, because
Mhm.
in and of himself he's like also a great musician,
Yeah.
right? So that makes sense, and it's Aristocats has been, I don't think it's a tip of any young kids, repertoire of movies that they've seen. I don't see many people quoting that movie with new
Which is
kids,
too bad. It's in my
right?
top three as far as the classic Disney
Right.
films is concerned.
Um, but
Oh, hello, by the way.
uh, hello, hello. But like my whole thing with the live action movies was always like, these are movies aimed at new kids,
Yeah.
not to like replace the old ones, but kind of to bring them these stories to a medium and a style that newer generations will latch onto, right?
Yeah.
So while I prefer obviously the older
The
versions of
originals. Yeah.
of the movies that I grew up with, I can see why kids nowadays will cling more towards the newer versions of the movies.
Mhm.
Um, which brings this next announcement. Like, I was confused by why. I get it, but like, did we need it? Because they just announced also that Moana is getting the live action treatment.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, that just came out. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know,
That was my feeling
right?
too because I follow Dwayne and I
Yeah,
saw his thing. I was like, wait. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't. Here's the thing: I didn't see Moana, at least not yet. I still have a lot of catching up to do, but I do
What?
know that it's relatively new.
Get out.
No, but
um,
I was just like,
yeah.
all right, but didn't
I
that just come out? At least with Aristocats and all the other
right.
ones, that kind of makes a little more sense because it's been quite a while, like a long while. But
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and then I thought about it for a little bit. And then I'm like, I'd really want to see, because we kind of beat it to death
yes,
sometimes, that Lauren and I are from the Philippines. Well, we're born in
yeah,
the States, but we're Filipino, which kind of lends itself to like in the Pacific Islands and that kind
mhm,
of stuff. We're closer to that than, say, mainland Asia culture, right?
yeah,
Um, and so to see that in a live action, and see kind of the worlds that we know from our heritage, that's kind of cool. And it's also cool that it's like, obviously The Rock is going to play Maui, because
yeah,
who else is going to play Maui? And I feel like he just really wants to play Maui in live action. This is where this comes from. But I don't know, always butcher her name. Alii Cavallo is producing, but because she also made an announcement that it's and she's part of it and whatnot. I
mhm,
doubt she's going to play Moana, because I think she's now a little bit older. Well, I know she's older, but I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe she plays like the mom or something.
Hmm.
I hope she's part of the cast as well, and they give her a singing thing because the mom. It's funny because in Moana, the mom is also a singer, and she only had like one line to sing. So I hope they bring um, some new music because even the music wise, sometimes what I have a problem with some of the old like some of the live action movies is when they add a song,
And it
but it
doesn't.
doesn't sound like
Yeah,
it
it doesn't sound
belongs,
like it's from there. Yeah,
right? Um,
getting
but
flagged for
because
having
one
not seen it
Lin
yet.
I feel like Lin Manuel Miranda is probably gonna be part of this. He's still alive and it's
Hmm.
still fresh, so I think any new songs they add to it would
It
still
makes
fit,
more sense that it would work.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and I do hope like some of the voice cast would be part of it somewhere. Maybe not, in the main cast, but like, give them some homage, kind of cameo things in there.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, I do think like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, really connected with this movie because it does kind of show some of his heritage and whatnot. I
oh
think
yeah,
he really
absolutely.
just wants a Disney movie that he can show off that kind of world. And
Yeah,
so I'm looking. It's weird because I was like confused, but at the same time I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes,
yeah,
um, and see how it does. And I'm really curious to see how it's going to look. If they're going to follow, how closely they're going to follow the story that they did in Moana, or
hmm,
they're going to take just a little bit liberties for some of it. Because again, the only thing is, it's still a pretty new movie.
yeah, yeah. It is.
Um, so we'll see. Who knows? Yeah.
Probably can't see my
Uh,
attention.
yeah. And then the last bit of Disney Studios news is that they released the trailer or a teaser, really, of the
Yeah,
Muppets Mayhem show that's coming out in May, May 10th or
yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
And it sounds like, from what I've read, like all of it is going to be available at the same time. But this is a show that is following the band Electric Mayhem, which I'm a big fan of.
hmm.
What do you think of the trailer, though?
I mean, I was kind of hoping to be more of it, and but I know
Right?
it's a teaser, so
Yeah,
I'm like, wait,
it's
wait, wait.
it was definitely a teaser because they only
Yeah,
showed the band for like a second.
yeah, you barely got it, but I'm like, but
Yeah,
it did make me want to see more. So, and it's not that far away.
yeah,
So, from us finally seeing it, but no, I'm looking forward to that. Anything Muppet related, I am
yeah,
absolutely like so again going back to Disney World, like that's two things that I need to experience when I do finally go is the show they do in Liberty Square, which I mean, I've watched. Like I usually try to avoid like spoilers, quote unquote,
right.
like for Disney World, but I did watch that in its entirety on YouTube like more than once. And the same thing goes for the actual like theater show they have, and I need to experience that in person. So absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I don't remember like they announced it. I know we talked about it when they announced
Hmm.
it. I can't remember where they announced it. But it's been low key, right? So
Yeah,
it wasn't like they had like production news or whatever. It just kind of like they're doing this show based. It's not centering around the band, and that was it for the longest time. And then this week they released the teaser, which is definitely just a teaser. But I didn't
yeah,
realize it's coming out this soon,
that soon. Yeah,
right?
figured it's going to be a little while, but no, it's
Yeah,
pretty much all
yeah.
ready to come
Because
out.
like I said, I don't remember when we said it, but like it doesn't seem like it was too long ago
Yeah.
because I was excited about it. Um, I realized I should have worn my Mayhem shirt, but I don't have it.
And, it's probably because they're just so pro at making stuff now. Like they can announce it and just be done with it before you know it. They've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long. They just have this. They have they have this stuff down to a science, pretty much.
Though
So
sometimes I kind of prefer it because we'll talk a little bit about it in the Star Wars section of this, but
mhm.
like sometimes when they announce, Disney announces something and it doesn't happen, you're kind of
Yeah,
disappointed,
yeah.
right?
So just it's better that like unrelated. Like one of my favorite shows ever. Like they made a movie a few years ago, right before the pandemic, but they announced it when they were already done with it. So this is the Breaking Bad movie, by the
Oh,
way.
that's right.
Like
Yeah,
they did it, like, and no one knew they were working on it. They're
yeah,
like, yeah, it's done, it's coming out. Like, wait, what? Like,
yeah,
like, and they got around to it by like all the extras were just like family members. That's how like no one found out, and they were
yeah,
already in the middle of shooting their other show. Like it was just
right.
something like, yeah, let's just do this real quick.
Yeah,
So it's nice, like with stuff like this. They probably know when they announced it, they were probably wrapping it up. They probably already shot it,
right.
and they just announced it pretty much when it's done. Which again, I'm like you, I like that as opposed to like when I still think about when Disney announced a few years ago the whole like their plan on adding another structure further down harbor, a new transportation center, that new hotel. They're like, yeah, we're gonna do all this, and then they're like, no, never mind."
Yeah,
Like, okay.
yeah. I mean, like, um, like I hope this show works because I know they've tried a bunch of times to make shows.
Mhm.
They didn't really capture, I think, what makes the Muppets the Muppets, and hopefully this is more in line with what we know of the Muppets because
Yeah,
it's an IP that I feel like Disney still needs. I don't want to say capitalize that because that sounds like an evil word, but like there needs to be more Muppets. Like
yeah,
it still sounds like people know who they are. They just need it. I think new generations just need something to grab onto that's their generation, but still feels very Muppety.
yeah.
That makes any sense. Yeah. Um. Oh yeah. And speaking of Moana, I forgot this part. So during this whole investor call or shareholder call, they announced that the Moana attraction at Epcot, the Journey of Water, is like
Yes.
the last. That's the conclusion of all those Epcot renovations that they were planning, which means
Oh,
there's a
really?
whole
I didn't
bunch
see that.
they did not do. They didn't do
Yeah,
the whole thing around spaceship Earth,
yeah,
like that whole like they're supposed to split that future world into like three different things. I don't think they're doing that anymore. There's supposed to be like a digital playground stuff, like
yeah. I
what
remember
parks.
hearing about that. I mean, this is just me being a dork. Like
Yeah.
maybe this, and like as I call myself a Disneyland conspiracy theorist, that maybe that means there. Let's spend that money on bringing Westcott over to California, like how we should have done.
And if they ever did that, that'd be crazy.
I would lose if they announced that, like, oh, the whole Disney Ford thing, that third park, it's going to be Westcott. I would absolutely lose my mind if that ended up being some kind of announcement in the future. Because I do know
Like,
that we all know they want to add more parks, at least a third one for the time being.
well, I
So
mean, Disney Forward over here in Anaheim wasn't a third park, but you might as well call it that because it was
yeah, it like was but
literally
wasn't.
expanding both California Adventure and Disneyland over
Yeah,
to what is now downtown Disney and some of the hotels. Like some of the hotels would be incorporated into that land, and then the the offsite parking area, known as a Toy Story parking lot, would be
yeah,
turned into what looks like similar to a Disney Springs, right?
yeah,
So it's restaurants, stores, entertainment stuff. Because our downtown Disney here in California is really just a
yeah.
a strip mall. I mean, granted, it's a very nice strip mall, but like it
Hmm.
all is one walkway leading from the hotels to the parks, and that's it. Whereas Disney Springs is a whole like
It's
it's
huge.
big, right? It's big. They got stuff. It's fun. In fact, last time I was there, we didn't get to spend a lot of time in Disney Springs, and we didn't see a lot of it.
Yeah,
It's not like you can walk 15 minutes through it and be done with it. Like here, there it's a pretty good chunk of land. So,
yeah.
and the things we haven't heard about Disney Forward. So I
It's been
hope
a
some of
while.
that is still going on. I know there's some weird politics stuff in Anaheim too.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a
so
hit lately.
we'll see. But I'm kind of because like Epcot is my favorite park.
Yeah.
Um, and I was excited about all the new things they said they're going to add. And now I'm kind of upset that like a lot of that stuff is now done. And like Journey of
Hmm.
Water, while cool, it wasn't what I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to all the other stuff they were adding. Like they've already kind of scrapped the Mary Poppins thing. It seems was supposed to be bigger than it is. And then, like I
Yeah.
said, they're turning Future World into 3 different areas. One with which was like a play area with like a digital something something. So all that stuff looked cool. Alas, it is not. Maybe in the future, we'll see. Maybe part of the
There's
17 billion,
yeah, maybe I was gonna
investment
say
is
maybe
like a
that's in there.
rethinking of what they want to do.
Kind of reimagining it. Yeah.
I mean, they did.
Because plans do change.
They opened Tron, so obviously, or not Tron. Like they opened Guardians of the Galaxy there, so I do want to go on that ride.
Yeah.
And they did bring Tron to Magic Kingdom, which I am dying to go
Can't wait
on.
for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a list of things, that I'm looking forward to when I can go for the first time. When it comes to Epcot, I mean, granted, just being there, but there's two things that are at the top of my list that I want to experience. One is going on Spaceship Earth, and the other one is trying the Beverly.
oh
I've
my
heard so
god,
much from so many different places and people, and yourself included.
I want to be
I
there.
need, I
I
need
want
to,
to try it.
I mean, I need to try it. And even if you're not there, if I can't, pull off, going on later this year,
Like I want to
you will.
FaceTime and just be
No,
like, do it,
yeah,
try it.
it'll be filmed, and I do want to try it.
Everyone who knows what Beverly is.
Yeah. I'm so curious. I'm
Yeah,
insanely curious about Beverly. So
right on. All right. Um, on to Lucasfilm news. Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny is going to have its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival on May 18th. Um, which to me, I'm trying to think of like other major franchisee movies that made their debut at Cannes.
yeah, they must think really highly of it. I mean, in that particular way to have it premiere
Right?
there.
In fact, is that? I wonder. Hold on. When is that supposed to actually come out? Have they announced that?
June. Yeah.
June 30th.
Yeah.
So it's a good more than a month
Yeah.
before the release of it. So I just hope that because that's a long time to have a movie out. That's a really high, like it's a box office
Mhm.
movie that story elements don't get too leaked.
Yeah. So
Um,
we'll see.
let's
But
see.
I mean, I can't wait for it. But I mean, thinking about it, considering how Mangold tends to direct, I'm also kind of not surprised. Um, but yeah, but like you said, like that film festival is pretty big. Um, I do expect some spoilers to get leaked.
Yeah. So all that means to me is like I think you be careful for over a
Yeah,
month
yeah.
after.
So, I mean, unless they make like everyone that can go to that screening sign NDAs or something, which I doubt.
It's not that kind
Whereas,
of
like,
festival, you know what I
no,
mean?
it's not. So, like, we could go. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it isn't. It isn't. Yeah, I mean, I can only. I mean, there are a lot of films that do get screened at film festivals of this size that are harder to get seats for than others. But um, yeah, the a big concern is spoilers because I don't want anything to be spoiled with this. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's gonna be tough because I know we're not seeing Guardians till the next day, till the next morning. Like I'm worried about just like that
That
less than
couple hours.
24 hour period of people
I know.
talking. Like I'll have to like stay off Twitter and everything. So
All right.
just in case.
Yeah. Just in case no one knows, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 tickets went on sale on
Yesterday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. Um, And unfortunately for us, or fortunately, like
Yeah.
like now movies come out like really the day before, so the
Yeah.
Thursday. So the movie
Yeah.
we could have gone to see the movie on May the 4th, but unfortunately, or
Fortunately.
unfortunately, it's Star Wars Day, and I will be at Disneyland that whole day, and then it's also
Mm.
Star Wars night at Disneyland, so I will be there all night. So we won't be seeing it on Thursday. I'll probably have a better time of avoiding things because I won't be really on
You're
social
gonna
media
be
because I'm gonna be at the park with my lightsaber and whatever
yeah,
I'm wearing.
you're gonna be busy. So I need to like make
Yeah,
myself busy that night.
yeah.
So
Just you know what you do? You should watch Clone Wars.
oh, you know what? Yeah, I think I'll do that.
um,
And if even if I'm caught, there's plenty of Star Wars. And yeah, I still have to finish Fallen Order. So if anything,
oh, yeah,
I'll do
yeah.
something Star Wars related, whether
There
it's
you go.
watching, catching up on wanting to catch up on, or playing. And by then, Survivor will be out, so
Oh yeah, we
I have
totally
two
out.
games to play. Yeah, so that comes out at the end of this month. So
Yeah,
I have plenty of Star Wars to do.
yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say about Star Wars Night? Oh, and Star Wars Night goes until like at least midnight, so I won't like once I get home, I'll go to sleep, and then we're
You'll
watching the
fix.
movie at like 9 in the morning.
Yeah, which is early for me, but I know we saw Endgame at like seven something in the morning.
Can't remember
I
that, but
remember like
it
you
sounds
told
about
me,
right. Sounds
yeah,
about
like because
right.
that was like all you were able to get. You're like, because
Well,
those tickets, and I remember you like you were ready for those tickets, but they sold out insanely quick, and you're like, I was only able to. It was like seven something.
yeah,
It wasn't like 7 a.m. on the dot. It was like
it's like 7:20,
it's like
7:30, something like
7:20, 7:30 or something. You're like,
that. Yeah,
all right, well, and like for me, like I said when you told me what time it was, I'm like, as long as we could stop at a Starbucks, I can get a coffee and a
right.
breakfast thing. I'm good.
Like the next showing after that was 12 o'clock. And I'm like, I'm gonna be home. I'm just gonna be dying to watch it, and
Yeah,
I had to avoid going on the online. So I'm like,
yeah,
so yeah, we're watching it as the earliest as possible. And
yeah,
apparently that is 9 in the morning
yeah.
our time on Friday.
Hmm.
Um, Other Star Wars or Lucasfilm news, well, Star Wars news, is that fresh off of their win for Everything Everywhere All at Once, directors the Daniels will be directing one or more episodes of the upcoming Skeleton Crew,
Cool.
um, which which hopefully, like I'm glad. Like one of the best things I think that Disney is doing is allowing filmmakers into the world and doing their
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Like I still don't know much about it, about what this is about, except that it's a Star Wars story involving kids, but not necessarily a kids show. So, yeah.
But yes, in response to what you just said, yeah, if I'm getting up early, especially if it's like anytime like if it's like, oh, we're doing a rope drop at the parks and we're gonna be there all day, I'm like, I need at least three coffees in me throughout the day. I
Yeah.
definitely like I always like let you know. I'm like, okay, we gotta stop at a Starbucks first, or the moment we get in Main Street, or near
Downtown Disney
Carthay
or
Circle.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I need to get it's the same order every time. It's a venti cold brew every time. I can't live without it. So I don't know if I'll get
Mine.
a venti though, 'cause since we'll be sitting in the theater, I'll probably get a grande, but
Yeah.
for for the movie.
Mine's usually a vanilla sweet cream cold brew.
Yeah, I get a venti cold brew with almond milk and 4 pumps of sugar-free vanilla. It's the same thing every single time. I'm
And
very
maybe
basic.
a cheese Danish.
What do I usually get? I usually get like that
Right.
sausage egg, pretty much the equivalent of a
Oh, yeah.
sausage egg McMuffin. I forgot what they call it there,
Yeah.
but I usually get that.
So when we go, we do have to leave a little bit earlier to do the Starbucks run.
Yes,
Right.
which is fine.
Yeah. But yeah, so also the big thing. So Star Wars news has been kind of scarce as of late, but
Yeah.
that's probably because this weekend in England, London, it's Star Wars Celebration weekend. Um, and what this is basically the the D23, the Comic Con
Oh, Star Wars. Yeah.
convention of but it's run by Star Wars, featuring a bunch of Star Wars stuff. Like this is where the premiere, all the news and trailers and whatnot. Like last year what did they premiere? I think the trailers for like the Mandalorian and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Um, but this year, I'm sure what we're gonna get this weekend is probably the Ahsoka trailer.
Yeah. I was gonna say
Finally,
Ahsoka. Yeah.
maybe the Acolyte. I'm hoping the Acolyte because that's also either is filming now or stopped filming,
Yeah.
and maybe a little tease of Skeleton Crew, like maybe the rest of the cast of that show. I mean, they already announced the Daniels directing, so maybe we'll have a little bit more news
Yeah.
on that. Other than that, I don't know what they might announce film wise because I think all that film stuff is messy over at Lucasfilm.
I was just thinking it would be great if they announced Ryan Johnson's Star Wars trilogy.
I
If
would
they if
laugh.
they, if they surprised us, or even if he was like, "Yeah, we're doing it," like, and if
Right,
it's just like, pretty much like how they announced that Ewan McGregor is coming back. Like he just like showed up on stage, like, "Yeah, I'm doing it," but they didn't even start filming or anything. They're like, "Yeah, I'm coming
right,
back." And if it's something as simple as that, they just bring him out on stage. He's like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I'm getting started."
yeah. What I don't want them to do is announce a project with no details or whatever.
Yeah.
Just like we're going to do this, but then 2 years down the line, we're like, what happened to that? And like, we're not doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like what they did with was it a Rogue Squadron like that?
yeah,
They
like
announced
Rogues.
that.
They even had like a whole trailer, like
Yeah,
with
I've heard
Patty
talking about
Jenkins
it.
to do it. It's like don't announce stuff unless you plan on actually following through. Like I understand once like a project falls,
Hmm.
but like all of them have. Like we have like Rangers of the New Republic, Lando, Rogue Squadron.
Yeah,
Now Kevin Feige's project like isn't done.
yeah,
Um, Lindelof is like off the thing or whatever. So like there's all these
yeah,
things where it's like don't announce something unless you're like we've worked on it. Here's the cast. This is what we're doing.
yeah. Like when they're if they need to be at least like halfway done before they announce something.
Or something,
At least I feel. Instead, I mean,
At least have pre-production like
yeah,
done. Like
like yeah, a script,
the
and
plans, the
we're
scripts, the writer,
shooting starts
directors, the
shooting starts next
cast.
month or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like one day we'll do this.
yeah,
Who knows? Um, but yeah, so next week we should have a lot of Star Wars news. Hopefully, I'm hoping they announce third season of Bad Batch because the second season of
mhm,
Bad Batch was
yeah,
I still like Bad Batch, Clone Wars are still some of the best Star Wars writing we've had.
mhm,
Um, like I like Andor, but Andor is way too serious and dark. Clone Wars, Bad Batch knows how to combine all of that
mhm.
into what like a Star Wars thing.
I mean, that's what I know. We talked about this, but that's what's great about Star Wars. If you want super ultra serious, Star Wars can do that. If you want kind of more light-hearted, Star Wars. If you want more cheesy, Star Wars can do that too. It's pretty versatile, I feel. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Endor was really, really like it. I mean, this is coming from me. It threw me off. I was like, I'm not used to Star Wars being this serious. But I mean, I loved
Yeah,
it. I thought it was amazing. But then Mando is different, and it's refreshing. So
Mando's fun.
yeah, Mando's more fun, and Andor was just dark and serious, and it should have been. It would have been weird if they had if they had
Yeah, it fit the
humor.
story
Yeah,
basically. So, but yeah, I wish I could have. Like one day, I do want to go to Celebration in London when they have it again.
yeah.
Um, but alas, can't afford to go. Well,
That is one thing I do want to. I do want to go to one day is Celebration when they bring it back over here. I know it's what every 2 years they bring it back over here. I forgot how they do it,
There's
but
no actual
there's
rhyme
no
or
like
reason
actual. Yeah,
because the first one was in Indianapolis, right?
yeah.
And then even the years they did, because they did it last year, so they did it this year. But before last year, it was 2 years or something before they did it. So it's not like D23, but D23 is like every other year.
Mhm.
And then the venues have been like it was Anaheim, then it went to um, Florida, and then somewhere else, and then it went back to Anaheim. I don't know. It's weird. And then Chicago, it went to Chicago. So, and I think Chicago was like the first time they went to Chicago. So
Yeah,
it's not even like there's no pattern basically.
it's
So who
just
knows
whenever
when the next
they do
one?
it. Yeah,
We'll know by next week because usually they'll announce the next one at
when
the end
the
of
following one is. Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
okay,
we'll see. Maybe it's in Florida. Maybe we'll move back to
yeah,
Florida, which then I also want to go to if it's in
yeah.
Florida. So, um, in Marvel news, some of the things we got. Nothing to go into like Victoria Alonso. So Victoria Alonso was like the VP of digital effects or visual effects,
Hmm.
and she was fired or let go or somehow she left Marvel Studios.
Hmm.
Um, and Marvel Studios has been getting a lot of flack for their visual effects,
Yeah,
right? If you watch some of the newer stuff, like I'm not too critical, right? But some of it is kind of like
you can
I'll
tell.
admit,
Yeah,
Ant-Man Quantumania a Modoc looked weird,
but at
right?
the same time, like, how do you make that not look weird?
Right. Like it
But
could have
yeah,
been
but I
better, but like the biggest criticism Marvel gets is that there's too many things going on and they're kind of overworking the visual effects
hmm.
departments or companies that they use. Um but yeah, they were uh like if you look at the lineup of the past couple of years for Marvel, there were so many projects. Like
There
even
was
the
a lot.
ones like people who are working on Black Panther, were working also on She-Hulk, or working on like it's this. I think like the plan of like toning like scaling down Marvel stuff is a right move because there's just
Mhm.
way too much uh, to what to do.
Yeah, yeah. A big believer in quality over quantity, and I think he even pretty much said that. I think Feige even said, "Yeah, we're gonna slow down a bit." So,
Yeah,
because yeah, it was a lot.
yeah. Um, like there was a video I was watching where they're comparing like a character that they brought into Star Wars, the visual effects surrounding that character, versus again Modoc, right?
Hmm.
And how well it was done in Star Wars and how crappy it was done in Ant Man. And it's because like one Lucasfilm like ILM is like the Lucasfilm house visual effects
Yeah,
department or company, right? Sure, they do some stuff for Marvel sometimes, but like if you look at Marvel's credits, there's like a ton of visual effects companies that work
it's
on
a
stuff,
lot. Like every time you look at the credits,
right?
waiting for
So
the end credit scenes, you're like, this is an insane amount of people working on this stuff.
yeah, yeah, fault of villainous. Yeah, I agree. Like
Hmm.
I feel like they were really depending on just the spectacle of it's a Marvel movie, so we're fine. But maybe because there's too many, we're just expecting better
Yeah,
nowadays. You know what I mean? We feel like if it was a small budget thing, I wouldn't be too critical. But we're talking
yeah,
Marvel, Disney money. These are movies that like there's so many of them that made $1 billion.
yeah,
Um, that like ever since Jurassic Park, where we got real dinosaurs, like the expectations of visual effects is pretty high, especially with these big budget movies.
yeah,
You know, like how like everything everywhere all at once. Their visuals were done by like two people,
yeah,
but they cared, right?
yeah,
They and sure it's not like Marvel's level, but like at some point. if you don't overwork your visual effects artist on multiple projects, sometimes they're just gonna be like, well, this is fine.
Yeah.
Got to move on to the next. Whatever point in their schedule of working, like you have to get this done by this date, and if you're not, well, that's fine. It's a pass. We're good.
Yeah.
So hopefully, with the scale down of Marvel movies,
We'll see the
we'll get
we'll
better
see the
quality stuff.
yeah.
Because I don't want a cheesy looking Fantastic Four.
No. No, we waited long enough for that to not be
Yeah, like if it
weird
looks
looking.
like the old movies from like the '90s, I'd be like, come on, man, it's been like
Yeah.
20 something
We
years,
know you guys can do better.
right? Like Invisible Woman, Human Torch. This is funny. Like I don't even remember what Mr. Fantastic looked like and his powers looked like in the last movie, the Trask Fantastic movie.
Yeah, yeah. I
Because
didn't
like
see it, but
story wise, I was already out. I'm like, nope. So I think I
yeah.
just didn't pay attention, but I don't think it was like mind boggling. But yeah, like last thing I want to see is a really crappy looking Mr. Fantastic stretchy power. You
Yeah.
know, that looks like it was done in a high school. You know,
I mean, I know we didn't get that much of it in multiverse, but I feel like it was
right,
fine. We got a little hint of it,
right, but not a
but then
lot.
again, that
Even
was
then,
yeah, not
even then, it was like it wasn't impressive. It was just like okay,
I mean, it was just
so
cool to have him there. So
yeah, basically, I was just
yeah,
like, oh my god,
I
this is Mr.
I'll never
Fantastic.
forget. I'll never forget your reaction when we saw that, and everyone else just losing their mind.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can depend on that before things start. You're looking at something going like, that's weird,
Yeah,
right? Um, some happier news. This is something I've been wondering whether or not she would come back, but Liv Tyler
yeah.
is
I
returning as
was,
Betty Ross
yeah,
in Captain America: New World Order. Um, I guess it kind of makes sense. So Betty Ross is the daughter of Thunderbolt Ross. So the character played by oh my God, why am I blanking on it? I was blanking on his name. John Hurt. That's his name.
um,
I feel like I'm getting that wrong.
yeah, yeah. You are, but I can't remember.
Oh my God,
Hang
this is gonna
on.
bug me. This is where I usually look it up, but then LJ talks.
No, not John Hurt. It's the character that was
William
yeah, William Hurt. Yes,
William
I
Hurt.
think. Yes.
Is John Hurt the one from uh who's John Hurt? John Hurt is somebody.
Yeah, John Hurt. Let's see. I'm trying to think of characters he played that we definitely know. Well, he was in the first Alien. He was
He's in the
in
Harry Potter.
yeah. He's in Harry Potter.
He's the
He
wizard. He's
played
the wand guy.
yeah. He played Ollivander.
Ollivander.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
he was also in um Kingdom of the Crystal Skull too.
Oh yeah, he was Ravenwood, I
Yeah,
think. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also good.
He's great. But no,
R.I.P.
William Hurt was great. I was bummed when but
Yeah.
I do know that
Yeah.
we're getting Harrison as his replacement. So
Right. So
yeah,
it's cool that Liv Tyler is coming back. I liked her version of Betty Ross more than I think I liked. Oh my God, what's her face? Oh my bad. I'm turning to Lauren. I can't remember names anymore. Je- Jennifer Connelly, who
oh,
was in the Ang
was it
Lee Hulk
Hulk, right? Which
movie.
I didn't see, but I've seen plenty of clips of it.
You don't have to.
I don't need to see.
This is not the Hulk you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, she's coming back, so that's cool. Um, and then we did have two trailers that were released this week. One was a Secret Invasion trailer. Um, What do you think of that?
I'm really looking forward to that. And as a bonus, the fact that Emilia Clarke's going to be in it, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and I know we all have a lot of questions in regards to Nick Fury. Um, has he been gone the whole time? Was he only back? I saw this a couple things on social media. You're probably seen it too in regards to Nick Fury, and that again, and my girlfriend and I recently finally watched Captain Marvel. Well, she finally watched it for the first time, and the scene kind of in the beginning when both Nick and Carol are just talking, and she's asking him questions like, and tell me something no one else would know, like something weird. And I think he said, uh, if uh, if bread is cut, I think he
Right.
said diagonal, I can't eat it. But then someone took that and went back to, I think it was an Age of Ultron where Nick is eating a piece of toast and it's cut diagonal. People are like that. Like people are like, did
Yeah.
they use that? And is that not him? But then there's other things I'm thinking about, like at the at the end of Infinity War, or I guess the post credit scene. Um,
Or he flip.
was that him? Was that Nick, or is that? I'm wondering how much of that, if if any of it, we're going to get answers to. Like, was he going back and forth to wherever he was coming back from,
I
or
feel like
has he been gone the whole time?
I my prediction is that he left after um Civil War. Not
Yeah.
Civil War. After Winter
Um,
Soldier.
yeah, Winter. Yeah. Leaving after Winter Soldier makes perfect sense.
Right. When he died
Yeah,
and then he left. Um,
but did he come back at some point and
um
then left again?
well, I guess
Especially
we'll
for that.
hopefully able to find out.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh but yeah, the trailer is cool. Like they released a little bit more info. Like Amelia Clark's character is um Talos's daughter.
Okay.
Talos is Ben Mendelsohn's character, the scroll that we
Yeah,
meet in uh, Captain Marvel,
yeah.
and the little girl that was playing with Monica,
We
that's
see.
his
That's
daughter.
her.
So that's the grown up version of her.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it is like it looks like it's
It's
a full on scroll
yeah,
war
and
in
it feels. I know I've seen the comments in this, but I felt the same way before I read comments and I watched it. It feels very Winter Soldiery, like,
yeah,
which I mean, of course,
right,
fully in favor for. So
right, which fits definitely Nick Fury. And
yeah,
like I don't know, but I feel like that he might not make it through. I think this is like Nick Fury's swan song to the MCU.
yeah, maybe. That'd be too
Um,
bad, but I mean, I guess we'll see what they do. But that's not
right,
that far off. That's not that far away either. So I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. And then the last trailer we got like this morning was another trailer for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse,
Hmm.
um, which
We got some
still
more
I
context.
feel like
Yeah,
I love the animation style. We did get a little more
yeah,
context of the story.
yeah. Because we recently saw the trailer came out a while ago in theaters when we saw D&D, and I was like, yeah, but I want to know what it's about at least a little bit. So we finally got some of that. So I'm looking forward to that because that
Yeah,
first one was incredible.
yeah. And this is part one of another. Well, I guess it's a trilogy. So there's going to be
Yeah,
another part after this because it used to be called Across the Universe, Part One and Part Two, I think,
yeah,
or Spider Verse. Um,
hmm,
but yeah, it sounds like from this trailer that it's about loss and like how all the spider people have this one almost one common thing is that they all lost somebody. Most of them it's Uncle Ben.
yeah,
In Spider Gwen's or Ghost Spider's case, it's she lost her Peter Parker. And basically Miles hasn't, at least in this
yeah,
iteration of him, he
hmm,
hasn't. Because I think some iterations he lost his dad as
yeah,
a in the line of fire as a cop. But in this version, they're both alive. We see that in the trailer, and I think it's like this weird thing where this that spider dude who is like Spider-Man 2099 or whatever.
Yeah, doesn't like that he's this
Like
kind of
he needs to lose something to
yeah,
join the club, but then it doesn't give
yeah,
him really an option.
yeah. He kind of seems like almost like the antagonist, at
I
least
think
of
he
this, at
is.
least so far. Yeah. So no, and I, I mean, this is coming from an outsider. Like I did my own lots of research on Miles, and
Mhm.
I having not read the comics, but I've watched and read plenty of it without. I mean, to be fair, I probably should, but like I still think about that one moment in No Way Home at the end, how you know how he's just like I was hoping there'd be I was hoping maybe there's a black Spider-Man out there, and like people I remember we saw it in theaters, people were like well, like I think someone whispered Miles somewhere like in
Yeah,
the theater or something, so like yeah, there is,
I
half
feel like
anyway.
it's
So
coming. It's coming
yeah.
soon. I feel like, um, and yeah, I'm just like I'm really curious to see what this is, how this is gonna play. But it looks really good. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Very much. I need to rewatch.
that
I need to rewatch the first one. It's been a while.
yeah. All right. That concludes our podcast for today.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know. Lauren always ends these things, so I
Yeah,
keep forgetting. But he has it down, so like I can't remember his spiel.
yeah.
Be
Well,
sure
just
to
do your
hit
own thing.
subscribe. Do like this video. Um, but I mean, honestly, yeah. If you haven't, if you watched it, please like, subscribe, do all that
Hmm.
kind of fancy stuff. Do you have anything else, Mad?
Uh, not that I can think of.
I tried to get some video of the new Toontown in Disneyland, but it was
Oh, that's right.
so crowded that it just looks like a video of people. So I'll try to get a better look at it when there's less people.
I feel like I'm trying to think like when would be. I feel like the only way you'd be able to get maybe some decent footage is you'd have to do rope drop, be at the front of that long line, and just a beeline
Beeline.
straight for Toontown. And then just
Yeah,
get footage before people start rolling in. Like you'd have maybe 5 minutes.
yeah. That's
And
just too stressful.
just stand in the middle and just do a bunch of 360s.
Yeah, I was there over the weekend, but it was spring. It's spring break right now here, so it's like,
Yeah, that's
which is a weird thing. So we were there, and my friend was kind of noticing that it didn't seem as busy,
mhm.
but it was still busy, right?
Yeah.
But that's because we realized this because the other keys, the believe key and below, are blocked this week.
Oh,
So
that's
only
right.
the Inspire keys are able to go.
Mhm.
So that eliminates a whole bunch of the Southern California key holders. But it was still it was decently packed. Like, but it wasn't like overly bad.
Yeah.
We were able to ride a lot of stuff, but definitely Toontown was still not as crowded as like that opening weekend, which is when I went, but like it's
Yeah.
still pretty packed. Like I got some footage of like Pete,
Yeah.
but again, it's like there's Pete and then there's a whole bunch of people just surrounding him. So I'm trying to get a better look at Pete. But he looks cool. Pete
That's
was just
good.
walking around Toontown. So he didn't have like a designated place. So he just like moseying around.
Yeah.
Whereas, Mickey and Minnie, all them have their houses and whatnot. And the new play area, that's pretty fun. Like my niece loves that thing.
Yeah, I do want to I can't wait till I can get my hands on a key and be able to see all the stuff I missed out on for wow,
Yeah.
it's been about a year. It's been almost a year since I've been there. So that's for for me that's a long time. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, I have a lot of catching up to do
Yeah.
on a lot of things.
A, sp- a sprint to Toontown would make me winded in two
Yeah.
seconds. It's literally on the opposite end of the park.
Yeah, that's the farthest.
Like the only way I'd be, no, even then it wouldn't be because I'm like the only thing I would try to do would maybe hop on the train if you rope drop and the train leaves at exactly rope drop, and then you take
Yeah.
it and then
I
make it to
I still
Toontown.
feel like it'd be quicker to even like a power walk.
Yeah,
Maybe not a sprint, a power walk to
maybe when I was in my
Toontown.
30s, I would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, 30s. Yeah, me with my bad knees. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, character like I did also know. Yeah, I like when character like I feel like what I've heard like a lot of people from Florida, like the characters in Florida don't really walk around.
Yeah.
Whereas here, they're everywhere. Like I'll randomly run into like Tiana and Pocahontas, and I remember I almost ran over Ariel once because she
Almost
was
ran
coming.
over Ariel.
Well, she was walking like in the corner. I almost went like boom, almost the same way. I almost ran over Stan Lee. But yeah, like I normally you'll find like like Peter Pan, Captain Hook. I saw
Yeah.
Woody and Jesse walking around, and then in Avengers Campus, they're like all the time.
Yeah,
Like
Avengers Campus is always just pouring with like every character ever. Like it's totally
yeah,
like if you want to go somewhere where there's this guaranteed
characters.
at least 5
I
characters
mean,
out,
Loki's there all the time.
there's always a Loki.
Almost to the point where you're like, oh, it's Loki again.
Yeah, there he
But
is. Like
like,
he's just part
yeah,
of it. You don't even think about it.
but it's funny. Like, I feel like one of the Shang-Chi's knows my niece because every
Uh-huh.
time like she's there, Shang-Chi will see her and it's like sneak up on her.
Yeah.
Same thing with Spider-Man. That's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Um,
Spider-Man. I mean, yeah, because Spider-Man has his, do they still do that? Do they still do his thing where he flies in the air?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I was worried that because I remember a while back, like it
yeah.
malfunctioned and it slammed.
Yeah.
I was worried after that, oh, we're not
Oh
gonna
no,
do it anymore.
They fix that
Good,
pretty quick.
good.
Uh,
Because then I know he comes out and he does
yeah,
meet and greet usually. So
yeah.
no, it's always cool.
And my Disneyland World problems that I have with Avengers Campus is that they'll have the main ones always there, but like the special like when like a show comes out,
Mhm.
like Miss Marvel came out, Miss Marvel walk around, but only for like a week.
Then they stop. Like, why not just?
Moon Knight. I never got a chance to see Moon Knight because he
It
only
would have
came
been
out at
great.
night. He only came
It
out at
would have been.
night, and then for like a week. I'm like, come on,
Yeah, and they had both of them. They had Moon Knight and
and Mister
Mister
Knight,
Knight,
Mister Moon Knight.
and would come out. I'm like, I want to see them. Like,
Yeah,
why not?
they
And that
had
was
they,
fun
they had
because
the
they did it for
Hulk.
like a week.
They had the Hulk out
Yeah,
for like a week. So
yeah.
you get to
So
see
I'm
that.
like, there's a few that Moon Knight was like on top of my list,
Yeah,
and Mister Knight, like, but then they're like, yeah, he's gone. Like, wait,
like you guys
wait,
spent money
what do
on
you do
these
with the
costumes,
costumes?
and they're
Do
not
you
they
burn
don't
them?
look cheap. Like the good thing about having them walk around, right? You get up close to them,
Yeah,
and those costumes look legit.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I think the best one I like Scarlet Witch's costume looks dead
It
on
was
perfect.
insane. Like, yeah, all the footage I saw of Scarlet Witch, like, not only did she like look like she even sounded like her. It was weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, just like who'd they get? Like,
yeah.
just
That's why Disney pay your cast members, man, because
yeah, just
they make the magic happen.
yeah. Aside from like it's like Ant-Man, whenever he comes out, he's always great. Like he's always great whenever he comes out. So
Right?
yeah,
They have
just
they have the
have
money.
them
They like
just randomize it. Just make
yeah,
it so yeah, they all come out. It's just
that 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 Moon Knight costume did not look cheap.
no, it did. It looked
Like it means
like
it's sitting somewhere at
in a
Disneyland. Just
box.
yeah, like come on, man, let's bring it out. Uh,
Oh well,
anyway,
we made it.
anyway, that just I will try to get some footage of the new Toontown that's less crowded because literally it's just tons of people. Plus, I never got to try any of the food. I hear the pizza's really good. I never got the
Yeah.
picnic
No, I'm
thingy.
curious about the food there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a foldable pizza that's supposed to be really good because for whatever reason, Pizza Planet pizza's
For some
terrible.
reason, where the pizza literally everywhere else
Like you
on
have
premises.
your name it has pizza in it. Like at least
Yeah.
make it good. And like Disney can make good pizza, just not at the pizza place.
For some reason, I don't. Maybe they. I don't know.
Yeah, they had good pizza once during the Christmas holiday, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
but I didn't try it because it was at Pizza Planet,
And you
and I'm
just don't
like,
think
ugh. And then
like I
people
don't
who
want to
were
go there.
reviewing it were like, oh my god, they should keep this pizza,
And then it went away.
and it went away.
Yeah, there was, just real quick before we go, because you mentioned like first world Disney problems. I do have
Yeah,
one that I still think about, and it's Tom Sawyer Island, or I guess Rivers of America mostly.
yeah.
At night, the sounds are still the daytime like birds and nature sounds.
Oh, so you want like crickets and like
Like I want like
nighttime
crickets
sounds?
and like an owl and
Owl.
stuff. Yeah.
That
Instead I'm hearing like daytime stuff.
makes
I'm
sense.
like, there's no way someone didn't think of that and they just didn't implement it.
Yeah,
'Cause I feel like that would help. Like
kind of would.
just imagine walking toward, essentially the main entrance to Galaxy's Edge at night. But coming from there you hear like crickets and, the owl, maybe
Right.
even like a howling wolf or something. I feel like that'd be kind of cool,
Mm,
personally.
coyote.
Yeah,
Something.
coyote. Yeah. I feel like that'd be cool. Why not?
Got that, Disney? Pay your
Yeah.
cast members.
Do it. Yeah.
Nighttime sounds.
Yes. Just those two things, nothing else.
Done. Anyway.
Fixed.
Anyway, thanks to everyone who stopped by. Thanks if you're watching this in replay. And again, send out some positive vibes towards Loren to hopefully he recovers, makes a speedy recovery, and doesn't have to stay in the hospital too long. And hopefully next week he'll be back with us, and we're going to talk probably a lot about Star Wars next week, which, I hate Star Wars. Yeah. So I'm sure I'll be like, whatever. But anyway, all right. Thanks, everybody.
So.
Oh man, how do I end this again? All right, now. All right, bye.